let me call Dr. Nisha. She must be around. Dr. Nisha, are you there?
Yes, good morning. Good morning,
Good
Archana.
morning. Good morning.
Yes, we all were waiting for you.
Okay.
Yeah, so thanks, Archana, for accepting our invitation and request. I hope that our participant will get benefited from your intensive research work and experience in this area. So I think, or even I'm sure that Professor Archana has done a PhD in the very specific area, and I think she is the first PhD in social entrepreneurship area. So
In TISS. In TISS.
India, in TIS, yes. I will request Veni to introduce Professor Archana.
Good morning, ma'am. Can you, I'm promoted. Ma'am?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Good morning, everyone. This is Krishna Veni. We request, today we invite Dr. Archana Singh, Assistant Professor at Center for Social Entrepreneurship, School of Management and Labor Studies, the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. She also the program convener for the program Masters in Social Entrepreneurship at CST. She primarily teaches social entrepreneurship, corporate social responsibility, social sector perspective and interventions, qualitative research, and social value creation and social innovation. She also conducts capacity building workshops for the research scholars and faculties of other universities. In 2013, she joined CST as assistant professor just after submitting her PhD thesis. She studied social entrepreneurship as part of her PhD research at TISS Mumbai. She received her PhD in social work in 2014. Before that, she did her MPhil in social work from the same institute in 2008 and Masters of Social Work from B.R. Ambedkar University in 1998. Prior to her academic career, she worked intensively in the development sector, both in urban and rural India, on diverse social issues such as women empowerment, women SDH, AIDS awareness among sex workers, etc. In 2016, she visited Tennessee State University, Georgia, Atlanta to teach social entrepreneurship and social venture creation to the master students there. She has published several papers in reputed international journals and chapters in edited books. In 2016, she published her book titled The Process of Social Value Creation, a multiple case study on social entrepreneurship in India. Her research interests are social entrepreneurship, social value, social change, women empowerment, corporate social responsibility, social work, interface between social work and social entrepreneurship. As a part of CSC team, she has completed the project of 1-year certificate program in social entrepreneurship through WebMade on 1st November 2015 in collaboration with University of Essex, UK. The project was funded by the British Council. As a part of a CSC team, she has conducted benchmark study on best CSR practices in India. Good morning, ma'am. We welcome you to this FDP and share your knowledge.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks for, your kind introduction. So,
sorry to interrupt you, madam. This is Pranjal Mule. I'm just, IT coordinator for this entire FDP in the team of Dr. Nisha Pandey. So I just want to ask you, do you have any slide presentations to show?
Yes,
so
I
let
have.
me make you a co-host. Just a
okay, sure.
Yes,
my slides are visible?
Now visible.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. And it's my privilege to be here at this platform. I thank all the organizing team for inviting me and giving me this opportunity, because I see each and every interaction with the audience, actually I see as great learning opportunity for me. So with this, I start my presentation. I will start little bit background. So like I said, when I started my PhD in 2008 on social entrepreneurship, I started in 2008. So at that time, very few books and journal articles were there. So I was really struggling, where to get the literature. I mean, no book, no article. So really, I had to struggle hard. A very few books available, specific, not on specifically on social entrepreneurship. Like I read How to Change the World, written by Bernstein. Then there was one very landmark book written by Nichols at that time, Sustainable Social Change. So few books were there, and really I was really struggling hard to identify the articles published in reputed national and international journals. But if you see the change, I mean, from based on my own experience, I am sharing from 2008 to today, we are in 2021. Now lots of articles are there. So now there is no dearth of literature on social entrepreneurship. If you are interested in exploring the more about this is the change. I mean, and you can imagine how, I mean, with what speed this field of social entrepreneurship is still growing. But yes, we are still in emerging stage, and there are lots of opportunities to explore in different aspects of social entrepreneurship. So with this introduction, I start my presentation, and the title of the presentation is Concepts and Theories in Social Entrepreneurship Research. So like we already know that concept of social entrepreneurship has emerged as a global phenomenon. So it is not like this social entrepreneurship concept is only developing in the underdeveloped countries or developing country, but it is equally emerging in developed countries also. And what if you see historically how it has been developing? Basically it started with identifying, I mean, lots of, like, if you see different countries, like in India, the voluntary sector, the corporate sector, and the government, I mean, all these three mainly contributing to the development of India. But then also there is a gap. So social entrepreneurship generally is emerging in order to bridge the gap. What is the gap? On one hand, we all are observing there are multiple social and environmental problems are there, and these problems are constantly growing. And on the other hand, if you see the supply side of resources, always, I mean, the constantly it is diminishing. So there is a huge gap, and lots of, I mean, the many social entrepreneurs around the world. I'm not talking only about India or in other developing countries, but in developed countries also, many social entrepreneurs across globe, they have proved their model in bridging this gap very effectively and efficiently with their innovative model. So I think that is the reason why this space of social entrepreneurship is growing so fast. Also, we have observed that always there is a constant shift from welfare approach to democratic approach in most of the countries, and where the government is even emphasizing on citizen self-sufficiency and also the market-driven model as compared to the welfare model. So that is a very prominent shift that we are observing in most of the countries. Also, if you see, social entrepreneurship is considered as a response to market failure, state failure, or both in meeting social needs. So where government is not able to reach, where their market is not able to reach, in those areas also, in those markets also, the social entrepreneurs are reaching and they are meeting the social needs of the people with their innovative approaches. And that's why with their approaches, they are bringing change, they are creating value for the society. And that's why social entrepreneurs are recognized as change agents in social sectors worldwide. But if you see, like I shared my own example that I was talking about 2008 when there were very few literature available on social entrepreneurship. But the term, it has emerged during 1980s when Ashoka, an organization, Ashoka pioneered the term social entrepreneurship. And then until the mid to late 1990s, several organizations adopted a similar terminology. So if you see during 1980s, actually it started the term. So I would not say that the practice of social entrepreneurship is very new. What I have found that practice of social entrepreneurship is very, very much old. If you analyze the Mahatma Gandhi's initiative of India's freedom, or many other, even Vinoba Bhave's initiative, you may find that the practice of social entrepreneurship was always there, not only in India, everywhere. But then what is social entrepreneurship, and why there is a need to have a concept of social entrepreneurship if the practice is there? So what I would say that if we don't have any concept, then it is very difficult to analyze the method of creating social change. People were, and if you see, even if you read the book written by Bornstein, he has clearly mentioned that the social entrepreneurs in the literature, they were presented as heroes. Okay. But if you don't have concept of social entrepreneurship, if you don't have proper concept understanding of social entrepreneur, it is very difficult to analyze the methods that they adopted in order to create social change. And that's why during 1980s, the term started getting more and more popularity when 1980s Ashoka pioneered the term social entrepreneurship. But yes, if you see, as compared to entrepreneurship, which is very much established in the current literature, social entrepreneurship is still emerging as a significant domain of academic inquiry. So it is practice-based approach, but in academic, it is still emerging. And that's why in any emerging field, any other emerging field, this area also provides lots of opportunities for practitioners and as well as the academicians to explore more and more. 1980s, when the term started gaining attention of the academicians, many support organizations around the world started also emerging. And if you see the growing number, and it is evident in the if you see the growing number of articles published in international journals, you may easily find that how in academic literature also it is gaining the attention of the scholars. Because, and I think in 2010 there is specific journal of social entrepreneurship also started by Nichols, who was the landmark author of social entrepreneurship. So if you see the literature, of social entrepreneurship, mainly it shows that social entrepreneurship is combination of social entrepreneurship, social mission and entrepreneurship. It means social entrepreneurs, they use the same entrepreneurial process in order to solve social problem, to create social value and social change. In this sense, actually, it is very important to understand entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship theories, because that provides the foundation for understanding social entrepreneurship. Because entrepreneurship process is same in social entrepreneurship and the traditional entrepreneurship. Only there here the focus, the primary focus is to achieve the social mission. And that's why we need to understand first the entrepreneurship theories, concept of entrepreneurship, in order to understand the concept of social entrepreneurship. So due to limitation of the time, I'm not going into details the different entrepreneurship theories, but I have just chosen this categorization of Cunningham and Lischinen, which he presented in 1991, he categorized different types of theories of social entrepreneurship in 6 main categories, and that is great school, great person school. So the first great person school actually emphasizes on entrepreneurs trait. It means the entrepreneurs are, you can say this is in favor of trait approach of entrepreneurship. It means those individuals become entrepreneur who are born with certain personality traits. So if you go by this approach, not anybody and everyone can become social, entrepreneur, but only those individuals who are born with certain very specific personality traits which are required for entrepreneurship. Only those individuals can become entrepreneur. And it means it cannot be learned, it cannot be taught if you are not born with certain personality traits of entrepreneurs. The second is psychological characteristics school. Here, the entrepreneurs, it emphasizes on entrepreneurs have unique values, attitudes which drive them. So it focuses on mainly the psychological aspects of entrepreneurs. The classical school, the central characteristics of entrepreneur innovation. So in this, the innovation, they focus mainly on innovation. Schumpeter is one of the scholar who emphasized this. The management school, in this school of thought, they believe that entrepreneurs are organizers of economic value. They are people who organize, own, manage, and assume risk. The leadership school, as per the perspective of leadership school, entrepreneurs are leaders of people. So it emphasizes on leadership style of the individual of entrepreneur. And the entrepreneurship school focuses on entrepreneurial skills can be useful in complex organizations. So they said that not only individuals always create organization, but the innovative people within the existing framework of organization, they can also become entrepreneur. Now, why I have mentioned the entrepreneurship theories, because I have already mentioned that the entrepreneurship theories always provide foundation to the understanding of social entrepreneurship. So if we don't understand entrepreneurship theories, we cannot understand social entrepreneurship, because it is the combination of both social mission and entrepreneurship. And when also it is very important to understand, and if you see, there are multiple theories available on entrepreneurship, and different schools, they follow different approaches to define entrepreneurship. But lots of scholars and even literature also, most of the literature actually emphasized on harmonization of different entrepreneurship theories. So they said that entrepreneurship is very contextual, and several social, economic, cultural, so many dimensions it influence actually the process of entrepreneurship. So single theory is not sufficient to explain the phenomenon of entrepreneurship, and that's why most of the scholars in literature, they emphasize the combining multiple perspectives in order to understand entrepreneurship. And we will take that understanding when we apply the entrepreneurship theories in context of social entrepreneurship. Now come to the concept of social entrepreneurship. So social entrepreneurship, if you see in the literature, it is focused mainly on two things: defining the phenomena and describing the phenomenon. And all these literature, it focus on two elements: social mission and entrepreneurial activities. So it is the combination. If you see the literature, multiple studies have been conducted which are mainly talking about social mission and entrepreneurial activities. And if you see the literature, just like entrepreneurship, different scholars have used their own perspectives to define social entrepreneurship. So there is no uniform definition of social entrepreneurship in the literature. Instead, different scholars, they have borrowed different perspective. They have used their own perspective. And that's why the definitions provided or existing in literature varies. I mean, because different scholars have used their own perspective. Lots of contradiction is available in the literature. Many of the scholars, they believe that social activism is also one kind of social entrepreneurship, because it also creates change and bring about social value. But Martin and Osberg, they said that no, social activism cannot be included in the realm of social entrepreneurship, because this is something different. And if we combine social activism and social entrepreneurship, it will create further confusion for the scholars. So it is very evident that there are lots of contradictions available in the field of social entrepreneurship. I was talking about the different perspectives have been used in order to understand social entrepreneurship. Some of the perspectives I have included. I am not claiming that these are the only perspectives used in the concept of social entrepreneurship. There may be multiple more, but I have mentioned here these. So like Dees has mentioned that he followed the great man approach. Basically, he said that social entrepreneurs are special breed of leaders. Special breed of leaders means here he is also in favor of understanding the concept of social entrepreneurship as per the trade theory approach of entrepreneurship. Leadbeater, he said he followed leadership theories to understand social entrepreneurs. Woodhuck and Post actually used the concept of social entrepreneurship in context of social action. Alward, Brown, and Letts, they focused on the capabilities of individuals in order to bring transformational change. Silos and Myers, they said that social entrepreneurs actually discover and create opportunities for sustainable development. So they focus on opportunity identification for bringing sustainable development. And Chand and Mishra, they said that even the teachers are also social entrepreneurs, because they also create the education. They teach, they are contributing in the education, which ultimately bring about the change in the society. So if you see how I mean, all the perspective, how these are different from each other, and different scholars, they have used their own understanding. If you see the perspectives mentioned here, can you imagine that we will have any uniform definition of social entrepreneurship? I think no, because how varied the perspectives here I mentioned. Not only this, not only the different scholars have used different perspectives, but also the term of social entrepreneurship has been used in different sectors. So many of the scholars, if you see Leadbeater, Dees, Anderson, Bosch, I mean, so many scholars, they only restricted the use of social entrepreneurship only to non-profit and non-profit sector and a not-for-profit sector. Woodhuck and Post, they said no, social entrepreneurship can emerge in public organizations also. Irwin said, if you see a continuum, and one extreme is charitable and one stream is for-profit business. So excluding charitable and for-profit business, social entrepreneurship is something which lies between these two extremes of charitable and for-profit business. These said that social enterprise is actually for-profit social business. Paredo and Kreisman, actually they extended the concept of social entrepreneurship and they applied in context of community-based enterprises. Okay, so now they said community-based enterprises are also social enterprises. Prahalad, Austin, Leonard, and there are so many other scholars. They said that for-profit businesses which are involved in very good CSR, they are also social enterprises. And There are, in fact, Venkat Raman, if you see, he said that even all the traditional entrepreneurship, all are creating value because they are producing those products and services which are needed by the society. So they are also fulfilling the needs of the society. They are creating employment opportunities for the people. So they are also bringing the change in the society. So it means it is also social entrepreneurship. And there are a group of scholars who believe that it is not confined, the social entrepreneurship concept is not confined only to any one of the sector, non-profit, for-profit, or corporate, or even the public sector, but it can emerge at the cross-sectoral partnership also. So not only the different perspectives used, but also if you see its use in different sectors, it again varies. So it makes it further complex for the scholars, because it is not possible, if you see so much variation is there in a field, how we can have a universally accepted definition, and that's why we don't have. Now, in a recent year, I don't remember the publication of this paper, but this paper is written by Professor Satyajit Majumdar and one of his PhD scholar, Nia Choi, and they presented that social entrepreneurship is actually, it is an essentially contested concept. It means they said that social entrepreneurship is actually a cluster concept. Cluster means it is not within a single concept, multiple concepts are included. For example, in the concept of social entrepreneurship, social value creation, social innovation, social entrepreneur, social entrepreneurial organization, market orientation. So all these concepts are included in the process of social value creation. So if you see the different concepts included in this cluster concept, social innovation or social entrepreneur or social entrepreneurial organization, market orientation, all these concepts in actually each of these concepts is contested. Why it is contested concept? Because all of these concepts, they don't have any uniformly accepted definition. Different. So if any concept is made by the combination of different concepts, and those concepts are also contested because there is no universally accepted definition is available, then how we can imagine to have a universally accepted definition of social entrepreneurship? So he said it is because of being a cluster concept and contested concept, social entrepreneurship to have a universally accepted definition is hardly possible. So it is not possible. And that's why the paper argued that instead of, emphasizing on universal definition of social entrepreneurship, we should try to understand the phenomenon of social entrepreneurship. So we should not fight for having a definition, the universal definition, because it is hardly possible. It is contested concept. It is a cluster concept, and we cannot have a universally accepted definition. If you see, like I said, that it is, yes, it is, we cannot have universal definition, but when you see the literature, you may find that most of the scholars, they have presented the concept of social entrepreneurship as multi-dimensional concept. For example, I have not mentioned here, but like Veeravardhana, you may read the Veeravardhana's paper. They also, Veeravardhana's and Moat, they presented multi-dimensional model of social entrepreneurship. Even I also developed a framework of social entrepreneurship, which is multidimensional, where I have included multiple dimension capabilities of social entrepreneurs, opportunity identification, resource mobilization, and the center is social mission. So, I mean, if you see the literature, most of the scholars, they have presented the multi-dimensional conceptualization of social entrepreneurship. I already mentioned there are multiple definitions available, but I really like these. These is the landmark author in the field of social entrepreneurship. So I really like his definition. So why? Because in his paper, he borrowed he used the different theories from entrepreneurship and applied in context of social entrepreneurship. Using this approach, he gave this definition of social entrepreneurship. So these mentioned social entrepreneurs play the role of change agent in social sector by adopting mission to create and sustain social value, not just private value. So social entrepreneurs always, the primary mission is to create and sustain social value. He or she may also generate private value. So it is not that this is the mission. They cannot generate private value. They can generate economic value as well, but that is not the primary motive. Second point is mentioned in his definition, recognizing and relentlessly pursuing new opportunities. So he borrowed the opportunity identification theory from entrepreneurship and applied in context of social entrepreneurship from Stevenson. So recognizing and pursuing opportunities for achieving the mission, and then engaging in the process of continuous innovation, adaptation and learning. And so innovation is also we have seen that it is established theory in entrepreneurship, acting boldly without being limited by the source currently in hand. So this is the theory of resourcefulness from entrepreneurship, which he applied in context of social entrepreneurship. And then last is sense of accountability for the outcome created. So here you can understand what are important: mission, opportunities to achieve mission, innovation, resourcefulness, accountability, and everything is for achieving the social mission. So despite the conceptual differences, majority of the scholars in the literature, they define social entrepreneurs as individuals who identify and exploit opportunities, combine resources, act innovatively to achieve their social mission to solve social problems and create social value. Also, when you see the literature, it is very important to mention, like in entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship also, it is very, very contextual. Contexts are very important in social entrepreneurship. And there is very, I would say the two-way connection between the context and social entrepreneurship. So not only the context influence the entire process of value creation in social entrepreneurship, but also the social value creation process of social entrepreneurship influences the context by bringing change in the society. So contexts are very, very important. Also, it is important because social entrepreneurs deals with social problems. They see opportunities in social problems. And since if you see, social problems are very complex. Social problems are very contextual. If the social problems are so contextual, how can be solution simple? So solution should also be contextual. And that's why one very successful model of solving particular social problem in a particular context may not be successful in some other context of solving the same problem, because context differs and your solution should be contextual just like the problems are contextual. So when you, and also if you see, the social problems are so context that in order to understand problem, you need to understand the problem from different context: economic explanation, sociological explanation, technological explanation, political explanation. Why? You take a single social problem and you will not be able to understand using a single perspective. You need multiple disciplines to understand, multiple dimension to understand that single social problem. And that's why when we are dealing with social entrepreneurship, we should use multidisciplinary approach to understand social entrepreneurship. Because social entrepreneurship deals with social problems, which are very much contextual. And in order to understand problems, we need to understand it from different dimensions. And if it is, and if you need to understand the problem from different dimensions, only the multidisciplinary approach can address or help us to understand the problem from different aspects. So when you see social entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship, there is no very distinct line which can differentiate social entrepreneurship from entrepreneurship, because in social entrepreneurship also the process of entrepreneurship, the activities, the entrepreneurial activities are same. So in many ways, social entrepreneurship is similar to traditional entrepreneurship or the commercial entrepreneurship, because it also includes the key elements of normal or traditional entrepreneurship, and that is opportunity recognition, innovation, and resourcefulness. But the only, for social on, it is very important for social entrepreneurs, social mission is explicit and central. And this focus on social mission is something which differentiates social entrepreneurship from traditional entrepreneurship. But otherwise, the whole entrepreneurial process is same. Now, if you see the literature, the research part, what I would say, like I said, that social entrepreneurship concept is emerging, still emerging, started in during 1980s and still emerging, though lots of research papers you may find in today's time in the literature, but still it is emerging, because आज भी we don't have any single theory of its own. We don't have. So social entrepreneurship research actually has gained significance since 1980s, because during that time it has started getting attention of the scholars. But till date, we don't have its own theory. So what is the current situation? In the most of the scholars, they actually borrow the established theories from different disciplines and they are applying it in context of social entrepreneurship. And also, since most of the, if you see the literature, especially the social entrepreneurship research part, you may find most of the studies, they have used case studies or grounded theory approach to study social entrepreneurship. Why? Because there is a reason. We don't have theory. So scholars are still trying to develop theory, and that's why you may see that most of the social entrepreneurship researches, they focused on case study approach and the grounded theory approach. Scholars, it is also very evident in the literature that scholars are borrowing multiple theories from different disciplines. There are many disciplines, but mainly sociology, management, and entrepreneurship. These are the disciplines. They have borrowed lots of theories and applied in modify it and extend it in order to understand social entrepreneurship theory. So I have found like the use of, these are the theories, I have mentioned few of them, because these theories which are borrowed from sociology, management, entrepreneurship, and many other disciplines, extensive views in the current literature of social entrepreneurship. And these are institutional theory, structuration theory, social capital and social network theory, then dynamic social psychology, bricolage, capability approach of Amartya Sen, competency approach from management, behavioral theory, entrepreneurship as a process focused on opportunity identification. Then PCDO approach has been applied, the people, the context, deal, and the opportunity. Then effectuation theory, which was developed by Saras D. Saraswati. Effectuation theory from entrepreneurship is applied in context of social entrepreneurship. Organizational identity theory, resource scarcity theory, agency theory, resource-based view from management. So all these theory have been used extensively in social entrepreneurship research, but still we don't have any particular theory of social entrepreneurship of its own. Also here I argue that I observed that there is still lack of large sample size study in the field of social entrepreneurship. So though I agree that yes, we don't have any theory of its own, so there is a need to use the case study approach and grounded theory approach towards developing a new theory of social entrepreneurship. But at the same time, like we all said, that still it is in infancy stage. If you see the concept of social entrepreneurship is still in its infancy stage. It is not established just like entrepreneurship. So in order to make any field as matured field or established field, we need to have large sample size study. Okay, so we need to have hypothesis testing, then applying, then it's checking its validity. And for all these, we need to have the large sample size studies also. That is lacking in the current literature. So if you see any emerging field, like it happens, not only it is very confined to the field of social entrepreneurship, but any emerging field, this at the current state, social entrepreneurship field is also providing lots of opportunities for the researchers, because whatever you are contributing is new. It doesn't, I mean, social entrepreneurship, it doesn't have its own theory. So there is a need to develop theory. Also, when you develop theory, then its validity is required. You need a hypothesis testing, validity checking. For this, you need to have large sample size studies. So everything is needed, and it provides lots of opportunities for the scholar and provide future scope of studies. So in this field, I would say ample opportunities for researchers are available, and all together, people from scholars from different disciplines, they can use their own knowledge and information, theories from their own discipline to explore and understand the social entrepreneurship, and we can all contribute to develop this emerging field towards making it more established and established field like entrepreneurship. Thank you. So I think I have finished my presentation, and I would like to have discussion. So that's why I finished my presentation, and I would be happy to answer all your questions.
Yeah, I think thanks, Dr. Archana, that you finished early before time for question and answer, and that is a wonderful lecture which has provided intensive understanding how it has emerged and what are the emerging theory and how this sector require more researchers
Yes.
to work on and to contribute in this field. So I would like to participant to ask questions in this regard. So I think many of professors they are doing PhD or they are interested in doing PhD. So it's a really a good chance to ask questions and clear your understanding.
Yeah, Dr. Nisha, actually,
Yeah.
purposely I finished my presentation
No, that's
early
good.
because we need discussion. Only
Of
just
course.
giving one-way lecture is not going to solve problem.
Right,
We
right,
should have
right.
fruitful discussion.
Yes, yes.
Good morning, Archana ma'am. This is
Yes.
Dr. Preeta from Vistas, Chennai. While commenting on the excellent session that you have done for us, and particularly 2 takeaways I have got from your session when you said that it is a multi-pronged approach, particularly social entrepreneurship, multi-dimensional approach, and contexts are very important in the sense that one size doesn't fit for all.
No.
You gave such a wonderful insight of the basics of social entrepreneurship for us all to understand and have clarity. Having said that, when we start our literature review, in fact, you have given us so much of literature which is which qualifies to get into a research paper. Okay, I should thank you for that. According to you, what is one base paper or a mother paper which you would recommend for researchers to go in depth into social entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So thank you for your question and compliment. Like I already mentioned in my presentation, I tried to provide the holistic view of social entrepreneurship space. So like I said, it is very important to understand entrepreneurship. But when you are interested in social entrepreneurship, you rightly said you should focus on very basic book. So I would recommend one paper, only 2-3 pages article written by Dees. Okay, this was published in 1998. The meaning of social entrepreneurship. The meaning of social entrepreneurship. This was the first paper. The second book was written by, which I also read when I started my PhD journey. This book was written by Nichols in 2006, and it is published by Oxford University Press. This is edited volume, and I would recommend that any researcher who is interested in this field should read the entire book, all chapters, because each and every book, every chapter deals with different aspect of social entrepreneurship. Everything. They focus on intrapreneurship, they focus on social value, they focus on opportunity, everything. They focus on introduction, the concept, they focus on the development of the field, everything. So Nichols' book. And the third reading, I would recommend you to read my book, not because I have authored it, but this book will provide you the thorough literature about social entrepreneurship. And I have studied the 9 cases of social entrepreneurship in India, 3 from education sector, 3 from livelihood sector, and 3 from health sector. And also in this multiple case study, I had tried to select 3 cases from non-profit sector, 3 cases from not for-profit sector or hybrid sector, and 3 cases from for-profit sector. So it would clarify your confusion regarding how the social entrepreneurship can emerge in non-profit, hybrid, and social entrepreneurship. So 3 readings, basic reading. First is 2-3 pages article written by Dees, published in 1988, The Meaning of Social Entrepreneurship. The second is Sustainable Social Change. This book is edited volume written by Nichols, published by Oxford in 2006. And the third book, which is written by me, the title of the book is social value creation, a multiple case study on social entrepreneurship in India. This book is published by Springer in 2016. So these three I would recommend for you to start with. You will have lots of literature to add on.
Ma'am,
And
thank you
then-
so much. Thank you so much. And this, your book is available in Amazon?
Yes, Amazon it is available. Or now this book is very expensive. So what I would suggest, if you have any partnership with this library or any other library which have, you can take help and borrow from other libraries also.
Okay, okay. In Flipnet, like that, we can.
You can like for TISS we have partnership with the IIT and so many other libraries also we can borrow. So
Okay.
in this case, if you have any collaboration, your university or your college have any other the collaboration
Access.
with other then you can access from other
The other two, are they open access or?
I think meaning of this is the article. You will get just Google search also. It is
Okay.
available.
In Google Scholar.
Yeah. And Nicole's book, this book is, I don't know, because I have borrowed
Nicole's
from
book
my
is-
library.
Archana, and this Nicholas book is easily available online, free of cost.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
Then you
or
can take-
I can mail all of you.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, Nisha ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
so
Your
much.
problem is solved now.
Yeah.
But Dr. Archana, you send your book detail. I will recommend for my library and will buy that few copies.
Okay, sure, I'll do that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. Any other question?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Mali here.
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm a research scholar with SNDT, Mumbai University, SNDT University. And ma'am, I want to ask some questions in this area. So first question is related to the social entrepreneurship definition, or when we define social entrepreneurship. So ma'am, there where the literature when we read on given by Peridot and Chrisman in 2006, so where they define social entrepreneurship from community-based enterprises.
Right.
So when I refer to more literature on community-based enterprises, I found out one literature which states that community-based entrepreneurship differs from social entrepreneurship. And this was by Johnston and Leonis in 2004, where their literature speaks about the difference. So, ma'am, your insight towards what, I mean, of course, everybody has their own perspective. So this literature has this kind of perspective where it says that it differs because community-based enterprises have far more social values as compared to social entrepreneurship. So this is one question. I would like your insight on this point, ma'am.
Okay. See, like you rightly said, everybody has own perspective. So I have also my own perspective. When I presented my presentation today, have you focused? Have you noted that I mentioned that this field, the conceptualization of social entrepreneurship is so varied in the literature, and that's why there are so much contradictions. So, for example, some of the scholars believe that social activism is the part of social entrepreneurship. Their argument is that what is the purpose of social activism? So, social activism is actually, it is also creating value because you are creating awareness, you are mobilizing people for some cause. So, you are bringing the change, and that's why it is social entrepreneurship. But there are a group of scholars who contradicts. They don't agree, and they said no. Social activism is completely different path. So it should not be the part of social entrepreneurship. So what I would say, it is the scholars take what is their perspective and how they want to define it. As per my perspective, I see social community-based enterprises are also part of social entrepreneurship because what is the purpose? The purpose is not your own profit. You want to create value for the people. You want to create value for the people. For example, if you say, see the Seva, Lijjat Papad initiative, or if you see so many other, I'm not able to recall here, Amul, Lijjat Papad, so many initiatives are there where the profits, they are the shareholders in the community based enterprises. They are the shareholders. So income that the organization is generating, it is distributed among shareholders, and who the beneficiaries are actually the owners. So if the social enterprise is making profit, it is actually enhancing the living standard of the beneficiaries, who are the owners. So it is my perspective that community-based enterprises, if that is the purpose, then it should be considered as social enterprise. But yes, I am not forcing anybody to take my view. It is my personal
Correct.
perspective.
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, here one more question with respect to the methodological part. Of course, while reading this literature, it's being realized that there is a very few empirical study is being there. So now when we have to do the
Can you
study,
speak loudly? Your voice is very low.
yes, ma'am, it's on the
Yeah.
head. Now
Yeah.
it's clear.
एवढे असतील ते पाठवतात ना.
Yes. Yes. Now it's fine.
करणार तरी नसतंच कसलं. त्याच्यात ते रिसर्च प्रपोजल मग
Excuse me, ma'am, can you please mute?
अरे ते तर व्हिडिओ
So, ma'am, yeah. So the question is about the methodological part. Like, if we have to collect the samples, and if we decide to go for the quantitative or empirical study in this case,
Noise is coming in the background.
18-19च्या माझ्या पण
Excuse
या
me,
वर्षीच्या पण करायचे
excuse me, kindly mute yourself.
so ma'am, while doing this empirical study,
Neeta ji, mute yourself.
आज ते उद्या आहे ना
प्रांजल सर म्यूट कर दीजिए सबको. अर्चना, डॉक्टर अर्चना, आप
Yes, ma'am.
यू आर होस्ट, म्यूट, बाकी सबको म्यूट.
दुसऱ्या गोष्टी आज मीटिंग होईल.
How can I make mute them? I don't know.
सर डेट डिक्लेअर करणार आहे.
माय गॉड.
दादा सर आपल्या फाईलचा इंडेक्स आणि ते आपण करून घेऊ त्याआधी. कारण काय आपल्या मॅडम जे ते
Excuse me, hello. They are so busy in discussion.
त्यांचा नाहीच मी प्रश्न म्हणून
it's
आपण त्यांच्याबद्दल कधी म्हणणार
Neeta madam, mute kara please. Neeta madam.
Ma'am, you can mute Neeta by right clicking and unmute. There is an option there. Archana ma'am.
But
Yeah, I am doing it. Neeta,
Listen,
Neeta, na?
हाँ, हो गया ना, done.
Okay, okay.
Kindly see the seriousness of the program. While if you are not attending and just you have on for everyone and joined and just you are talking anything, but it is disturbing for others. Kindly make note that do not disturb the discipline of the program. Yeah, Archana madam.
Sorry, what we were discussing, I forgot.
So I'm asking a question on this. So when we go for this methodological or empirical
Yes.
study, ma'am,
Hmm.
so what we have observed, it's more about the case studies, or we see more about the intangible aspects.
Yeah.
So how that empirical can be made more effective when it is more of intangible views are being there. So just your perspective on this, ma'am.
See, like I said, yeah, definitely. See, it is quite obvious. We don't have theory, and that's why most of the researchers, they are focusing on the case studies approach and the grounded theory approach in order to make theory. But yes, you are right. We need to have large sample size study, because whatever using the case study approach and the grounded theory approach, the theoretical framework, the preliminary step towards developing a theory is available. We need to test the validity of those theoretical framework, and for that we need large sample size study. Now, large sample size study, like we said, in social entrepreneurship, and this is emerging field, the social entrepreneurs are scattered everywhere scattered. So how to get data? First thing, I would suggest there could be multiple approach, but I would suggest you can approach the universities which are teaching social entrepreneurship and or the incubation centers. The incubation centers which are providing the incubation support for the social entrepreneurs.
Sir, it's sound problem, sir.
Hello.
Sir.
Yeah, आवाज येते का?
Install करा बरं.
I think
Install करून install करा.
it's very disturbing.
YouTube पण येत नाही का?
YouTube पण नाही काय.
Sound problem is.
Good morning.
Is it fine? Okay. So, like incubation center could be one of the gatekeeper. Did you understand gatekeeper when I'm saying gatekeeper? Who provides you access to your respondents. Okay. So when you think that your respondents are scattered in different geographical locations, then the gatekeeper approach is the one of the best approach to use for accessing your aid. So I think your gatekeeper could be universities which are teaching social entrepreneurship and providing incubation center support, Second, the proper incubation centers which are providing incubation support to social entrepreneurs. Third, the foundations like Ashoka Foundation, Shahwa Foundation. There are so many support organizations which have emerged, in the years to support budding social entrepreneurs. They select entrepreneurs from across the globe. So those organizations, actually, these support organizations can provide you access not only the entrepreneurs who are based in India, but in other countries also. And if you want to do any comparative study or because this is very contextual, like I said, social entrepreneurship. If you want to do cross comparative study or any kind of thing, just a thought, then I think this could be one of the area. I think I addressed your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Very insightful session. So many inputs we got from your session, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Any other question?
Good morning, ma'am.
Deepak sir, I identified you.
Yeah, ma'am, it was really nice attending that digital conference by TISS. Your center is doing a commendable job over there, ma'am.
Thank you.
And ma'am, in fact, as a research scholar, you have given us so much inputs. In fact, we missed out this thing in the digital conference.
Yeah.
All the sessions were very good, but we personally, like, you have given us so many points. Ma'am, there are a few questions actually I would like to ask you. Since you mentioned social entrepreneurship is an emerging field. Now, when a field is emerging, there are so many diverse concepts which come out, and for a scholar, it's an opportunity. We can come out with various concepts. When a field matures, then only the theory develops, I suppose, ma'am. During the emerging field, there is a scope for a lot of discussion, deliberations, various concepts. So the moment it matures, then only the theory could develop, or we can suggest a theory right now. It could be tested, and then it can become a mature field, ma'am.
Yeah. Deepak sir, you are right to some extent. Theory building is a cyclical approach. Okay, you are right that any emerging field, we are in infancy stage because we don't have any theory. But we cannot say that, okay, if now today we have one theory, it is mature. Why? Because every day there is a new knowledge. Every day there is a new practice. So when your practice is feeding to modify your theory, again, you will add your knowledge to the existing stock of knowledge. So always there is a scope of refining the theory even if you have theory. But we have not reached at that stage कि हमारे पास एक भी theory हो. रही बात, we are still in the process of developing theory. There are multiple studies available currently in the literature where different scholars have used case studies and grounded theory approach to provide theoretical framework. In my book, I have also developed theory, but again based on case studies. My book is also based on case studies. I developed theoretical framework. Okay, now this is not valid. In order to make test its validity, you need to develop the hypothesis based on the theoretical framework, and these propositions or hypotheses need to be tested in with the help of quantitative study with large sample size in different contexts. When different rounds of testing shows its validity, only then we can say that okay, it is valid theory. But whatever theoretical framework is are available, these are the first stage. But first stage mein we need to develop multiple hypothesis testing in different contexts, and for that we need large sample size studies. So we cannot say that we are mature. अभी तो हम बहुत नीचे हैं और हमको लार्ज सैंपल साइज करनी पड़ेगी टू टेस्ट द वैलिडिटी ऑफ द एग्जिस्टिंग थ्योरेटिकल फ्रेमवर्क्स which are in the preliminary stages and which are developed only on the basis of case studies and grounded theory approach. Because if you see the case studies and grounded theory approach, the theoretical frameworks are developed based on very small sample size. And when these theoretical frameworks are developed on the basis of very small sample size, we cannot generalize its finding on a different context at the broader level. That we can do only if we have established theory and the validity is checked with the quantitative data.
Ma'am, one more question actually, like Professor Madhukar Shukla sir was there in the digital conference also, and sir has also taken a session over here. Now,
Yeah.
Sir has come up with a typology whereby he says ki, since this is an emerging field and multi-dimensional field, we must include all sort of people who are making social impact. So he says ki local change makers are there. He says ki public good providers are also a social enterprise. The pure social enterprise, as we say, they are also part of this, and social transformers, ecosystem builders. Similarly, Bakshi sir, Professor Bakshi sir has also said ki, okay, there is scope ki we can include trust. Even Professor Saad was also saying this thing. So, ma'am, when we include all those people, as you rightly say, ki even social activism, some scholars argue ki social activism is also part of this. So, since this is so wide field and it has inputs from various other areas also, so how we can define and restrict this field in certain context, in a definition, as you even Majumdar sir say ki, okay, it's a contested concept, a cluster concept. So the definition, the DICE definition was very good, as you rightly say ki he has touched most of the points, but still based on your understanding, how we can define this evolving and expanding field and which touches almost every sector of the society, ma'am?
See, Deepak sir, what I would suggest, like I said, this is social problems are very contextual, okay, and that's why social entrepreneurship should be very contextual. It has to be contextual. Contexts are not same everywhere. How we can have same definition? You gave your answer. You said, you asked me, ma'am, how we can define social entrepreneurship in a particular context. It means there is no universal definition. You have to understand the phenomena only within a particular context. We cannot have definition which is acceptable for everyone. The context differs because
Yes,
the problem differs.
Right, ma'am. Is it possible to have multiple definitions within generic something, ma'am?
See, multiple definition we have. Like I mentioned 6-7 perspectives. Many are saying the teachers are social entrepreneurs because they are creating change. And this paper was written by the faculty of IIM, Professor Chand, or NEDI, I think. So people are adopting, even if you see the literature of Venkatraman, who is very established scholar in entrepreneurship field, he said all the enterprises are social entrepreneurship because they are creating employment opportunities. So if you see so broader, then each and everything is social enterprise. So I think we need to understand, I'm not saying defining, we need to understand the phenomenon of social entrepreneurship within a particular context. And since the social problems are contextual, context varies, we cannot have a one definition for social entrepreneurship which is universally accepted. It needs to be understood in context, and why there is a need to define if you understand the phenomenon. Why definition is necessary? See, how can you define? See, for example, for-profit businesses can also be social enterprises. Now, if you don't have any policy on social entrepreneurship in India, I'm talking about India, in those countries like US, UK, they have proper policy of social enterprises. When I was there in US for teaching social entrepreneurship, one of the professors from there, they presented different types of social entrepreneurship. So providing types and definition of social enterprises are possible only in those countries who have very specified sections. Okay, these types of companies can be categorized as social enterprises. We cannot do that. In what is the today's condition in India? If you see, like Sampoorna, have you heard about Sampoorna? Sampoorna is a social enterprise. It is our alumnus, the students of social entrepreneurship. They 3 classmates started this organization. They are working in providing the environmental solution. Okay, waste management, 100% waste management solution they are providing. Okay, now they are registered as private limited company. I'm just giving a hypothetical case. There is a section in the Companies Act 2013 that any company which whose turnover is 500 crore or more than 500 crore has to spend 2% of its profit in the social sector. It doesn't matter your organization is registered as it is registration ki to baat chhod do, it is social enterprise or commercial enterprise. But even if you are working for environmental cause and the day you reaches 500 turnover, you have to spend CSR. But why it is so? So how can you distinguish which organization is social enterprise and which social enterprise is not social enterprise if it is registered as private limited company in India? So this problem exists because we don't have any policy and legal definition of social enterprises. And it will remain there till we don't have policy. So we cannot classify these are organizations, social enterprise. We don't have any classification. Till then, we have to only rely on our understanding of social entrepreneurship. I mean, and what is their mission? What is the reason of existence of the company? Whether the reason of existence of the company is to solve social and environmental problems primarily, or the making profit is the first. I think if that it is clear in our mind, it is not, difficult for us to understand whether this organization is social enterprise or commercial enterprise. Otherwise, drawing a distinctive line which demark social enterprise from commercial enterprise is not possible if we don't have any policy on social entrepreneurship.
Ma'am, we had a session on policy making by Professor Bakshi from he's from MDI. Now, sir says, and even Professor Shukla says, ki to have a policy like in Europe, certain countries are there where social enterprises comes under cooperatives actually, and in US, as you say, ki they have a policy on this good business. Now, to have the similar sort of policy in India. Since social entrepreneurship is in phenomena, and to have Professor Bakshi put out one very good suggestion. He says to to pressurize the government or to convince the government to have a policy on this and to have a legal framework and to have a policy on social entrepreneurship, we need to have more discussion and we need to include more enterprises into this network. So what is your take on this, ma'am?
Deepak sir, British Council of India has already drafted the policy framework. Just suggestion, it is not policy, but they conducted a research and interacted with so many stakeholders in India to have a policy. So it is not that kuch bhi kaam nahi ho raha hai. People are doing and efforts, they are putting their efforts to have policy. Or Google, if you search Google through Google, the first draft is available. तो काम हो रहा है, ऐसा नहीं है. They included, when they were conducting this research, they interacted with our alumni, existing students, हमारे जो the founder of Sampoorna Earth, and so many other social entrepreneurs, the academicians who are teaching social entrepreneurship, incubation centers. So the teachers in different universities, the social entrepreneurs who are getting the incubation support, who are not getting the incubation support, after incubation support. So they interacted with different stakeholders and then they have come up with their suggestions, and that is available on Google. This is suggestion for everyone who is interested in this field to go through the draft, which is available, online, and you can access to it. This draft was developed by British Council of India.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a question in a chat box from Miss Vinu Raj. She's asking, ma'am, I have a question. Could you please suggest some tools for qualitative research in brief? We have very less platforms on the tool for qualitative research, especially with regards to a PhD scholar thesis.
Tool, I didn't understand. Generally, tool we don't use in qualitative research. Different tools are used in quantitative research. Tool means what? Tool of data collection? What she's, asking.
She has not written. She has written only this much. So
just a minute. Let me read the chat. Who has written this?
Dinu, Miss Dinu.
Okay, just a minute. Ma'am, I have a question. Could you please suggest some tools for qualitative research in brief? We have any less platform on
now she has written a new tool for analysis.
Okay. See, tools, there are two, I think there is a confusion. The question is not clear because tools, there is qualitative research, the qualitative, quantitative and mixed. Okay. Then
Archana, this NVivo kind of which this is software but help in qualitative research. And
MS software.
And Atlas TI.
Tool of analysis.
That are tool of analysis. Or if she asking for qualitative research, I think so. For that, focus group discussion can be one of the tools.
तो मैं वही बता रही हूँ. कई बार क्या होता है? See, always there is a confusion. जब हम tool बोलते हैं ना, tool could be tool of analysis, tool could be tool of data collection. So you need to be specific. What do you want to ask? But for the benefit of the audience, I am just giving you a description कि पूरा एक overall qualitative research if you want to do on social entrepreneurship, what could be the options? Okay, so you can classify researches into qual and mixed methodology. If you are focused on qualitative research, in quantitative there is only one method, that is survey method. Okay, but in qualitative we have 5 approaches. We have grounded theory, we have case study, we have phenomenology, we have narratives. Okay, we have ethnography. Now, based on your research question, you need to choose any one of you or a combination of these. Combination means you can adopt grounded theory plus case study based on your research question, the objective of the study. So based on your research question and objective of the study, you need to, generally your purpose, if your purpose is to develop theory, then theories can be built using the grounded theory approach, as well as Yin has developed the approach of case study, and Eisenhart is the scholar who built on case study approach, and he said that when you read Yin's approach of case study, he only talked about the cross comparative method, cross case comparison. But when you read the article written by Eisenhart, he said using the Yin's approach of case study, you can build theory. So if your purpose is to build theory, then you follow only the case study and grounded theory approach. Okay. Now, if you are using the case study mein, there are 6 methods of data collection as mentioned by Yin. If you want to read more about case study, you please go through the book written by Yin. Yin, 1984, he published this book. 6 evidences of data collection he mentioned. तो उसमें बहुत सारे हैं, ऑब्जर्वेशन है, इंटरव्यू है, देन फोकस ग्रुप है, बहुत सारे हैं, आप देख लेना वो 6 methods of data collection. So it should be the combination of 6 methods, or you can select what is applicable. Grounded theory में है, generally grounded theory we use in-depth interview as a method of data collection. In-depth interview. रही बात, there is a difference between method and tool of data collection. In-depth interview is a method, but when we use tool for conducting in-depth interview, tool is interview guide or interview checklist. So that is it. Otherwise, if you want to conduct ethnography study, phenomenological study, or narrative, the approaches are different. So in those, the methods are different, the approaches are different. But theory building, case study, and grounded theory approach.
Yeah, ma'am, Dr. Amrish also has raised a hand.
Yes. Please, Dr. Amrish.
Sir, may I have?
Your voice is breaking, Amrish, sir.
And after Amrish, Professor Swapnil also is there.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
I am audible, Amrish?
Yes, sir.
Very much. And if you recall, I am very thankful to Tata Institute because that was the place from where I actually heard this term social entrepreneurship in 2015.
Okay.
And I was in a program of Dr. D.P. Singh and Anil Sutar in 15 October.
Okay.
And after that, it was a regular contact with the Professor Satyajit Majumdar who inspired me. And I am one of, and I regularly visiting. I met you in 2018. And Samapti Guha, and you're very in your cabin. It was the meeting.
Yes.
And you will be glad to know that we are the actually. I started a course of social entrepreneurship in University of Lucknow.
Okay.
Under my
yes, we met. I remembered very well.
Yes, and we were in the British Council meetings of EDI and all, and we started this course.
Okay.
And I'm also reading, writing, and it's become one of my core areas of that, and I'm working with the scaling up. And you will glad to know that we are the first MHRD GYAN course in University of Mysore. Professor Aswanta Dongre has conducted in 2016. It was a very long, it was a passion which inculcated by TIS only.
Okay, very happy to know, sir. Congratulations.
And definitely, ma'am, you people are doing a great job under the leadership of Professor Majumdar, and we are very hopeful that it's the time is very soon that all the universities will rethink, and definitely they have to start the type of courses and centers, and
yes.
we will fortunate enough to contribute on that under.
Yeah, and I think collaboration is the only way.
Exactly.
Collaboratively, I mean, we can collaborate so that we can create more awareness among students, because it is interdisciplinary and it is the need of the hours. I mean, students from all the disciplines, whether commerce, arts, medical, engineering, everywhere. I mean, people should know about whether you want to start your venture or you want to work. Entrepreneurial approach and your sensitivity towards society is must.
exactly. This is also when I did my FDP from IIM Ahmedabad. There also Professor Anil Agrawal, and we.
Yes.
This is the area where people are very much interested, but
Yes.
due to the fascinaticism of the quantitative research, this area is actually have to do some more things, because the people are still, they have some hesitation about this कि publish होगा कि नहीं, और इतना मेहनत करें, कहाँ से data आएगा. Still, this is the hitch of the people, but definitely it will be soon. We will
But
do.
sir,
And as soon
ऐसा-
as I realized Dr. Nisa Pandey is conducting this course, because in Atal I searched almost all की social enterprise management कौन करा रहा है, social enterprise management कौन करा रहा है. And then I have seen the network, then I have wrote an email to that team. They are actually conducting a very good workshop, and this area is
I always
upcoming
appreciate
area, and
Nisha
all the
ma'am's effort.
participants, they have been
Always she, I mean, she is busy in conducting one or the other workshop. I really appreciate her energy.
No, they're doing great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
For this
Swapnil, I
wonderful
think
insight.
Excuse
Swapnil.
me, ma'am, may I ask one thing?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, please.
Ma'am, am I audible, Archana ma'am?
Yeah, lekin I think Swapnil has raised his hand. So
Ma'am,
then
can
I will get back to you.
audible?
Okay, sure, ma'am, no problem.
Yeah.
Am I audible, Archana ma'am?
Yes, Swapnil. Yeah.
Good morning. It was a good session, ma'am. What I want to ask you is a bit of a, it's a bit of a dilemma, which as a researcher we go through. So, as we all know that research is a very perspective based, and when you cannot easily convince the other person with the perspective that you have. Okay, so what happens is, as a researcher, when I'm trying to publish my work, particularly with respect to the literature, I want to know, because I consider myself not to be that great in literature, but in some aspects, what I find is when I seek review, or when I go to publish it, what happens is sometimes I get a review that there should be a bit of theory, and then other times when I put some theory, that time I get that it should be supported through some practical cases and aspects. And then what happens is, instead of actually focusing on research, what happens is we tend to please the reviewer instead of, so I mean, in the end things go in a loop, and I sometimes face that I'm not finding the end of it. So that's being a very practical person, I like to work on the practical aspects of it. So, and what happens is, if you don't publish some good work, then your research is not recognized overall. That is also a dilemma. So I hope you have got to what the dilemma is, and I would like to get some insights from you.
So Apnil sir, I'm very happy to say that I am I'm not the only one, because I suffer also with the same problem. Okay, so it is not like, you don't think you are alone. We all are with you, because everybody has to face the problem of rejections. Last year, I think I published one paper in Administrative Journal. It is published from US, and this paper was published after rejection in 5 journals.
Okay.
I was frustrated completely, and I gave up. I completely gave up. But this paper I was writing with one of the professor with Kennesaw State University, because I used to go there for teaching, Professor Monica Nandan. And she was determined, no, Archana, we have to publish it. We have to. So because of her motivation, I had to work hard, And after rejection from 4 journals, this was the 5th journal which accepted. And then after 3 revisions.
But yes, ma'am. I mean, sorry
So
to
don't lose your the motivation. And it is not that it is only happening with you. We all are facing the same problem. But sometime, like now, once I presented my paper, I would not name the title of the paper, in the EDI conference. Okay, I presented conceptual framework to combine social entrepreneurship and CSR. Okay, and based on my own views and literature, I developed a framework for combining social entrepreneurship and CSR to create more impact. it was completely rejected by them. Okay, and in one of the journal, I would not name, it was completely rejected. After presentation in that EDI conference in Ahmedabad, I submitted this paper for publication. So they rejected, and they said, how can you develop this conceptual framework based on the literature review? But I was confident. No, in this way, I can develop this framework, though it is a conceptual framework, but based on the literature review and from my perspective, my idea, I can develop framework. And now it is published in different. So it is not like that, that if one or two person or journals are rejecting your review, nobody will accept it. Okay, if you are so confident about, like for that framework, I was confident. I am not going to change, or I am not going to please the editors, because I was confident. So it was rejected, but then it was published in different journal. So it happens. And sometimes like 4 or 5 rejections, sometimes we also feel demotivated. I completely gave up, but then I did that. I think time is up and we cannot take more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I just
having
want
one
to interrupt you.
No, no, not
I
more,
have to
not,
take permission from Nisha. Nisha,
no,
ma'am.
not, we cannot take more question because,
Ma'am, am I audible?
yes.
Pranjit. Yeah, so Dr. Archana, what I want to say you, I am just referring your earlier discussion with Swapnil. See, the brighter side of that rejection is you get to know more finer points of it. Probably you must have not thought about it, and more revision. So I think this is your own learning, and you get to learn all 360-degree angles of or the different perceptions of about your title or about your work.
So you are asking?
No, I'm just
that's true.
adding
That's true. And sometimes their comments are also very valuable. That
Very
that you can incorporate in modifying and improving your paper.
So many times it happens when we write a research paper, we usually follow one angle only.
Yes, definitely.
But when we get to know more angles.
Just one suggestion I want to share with everyone. Before submitting it to journal, you share your draft with your peers, your friends, your colleagues, whom you trust that they will give you the critical feedback. That we practice at our center. Before submission, we share with our colleagues and they share their critical feedback.
Yeah, it is very important.
Yes. Yeah. And thank you so much.
Thank you,
ma'am. Only one. Can I ask one last question, ma'am? If you insist, ma'am. If you permit,
it's
ma'am.
not my problem, Nisha, ma'am. We don't have time.
Nisha, ma'am.
So listen, your next session would be from 11:45. So then if you're asking question, I don't have any problem. Then continuously you have to attend next class.
Yes.
Okay,
so it's up to you now.
Okay, ma'am, no problem.
11:45 we have next session. So you have time, but then you will not get break. Then now you decide.
Ma'am, just a small question.
No problem.
But thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, Archana, ma'am, hello, ma'am. First of all, thank you so much for such an informative session, ma'am. Myself, Kaushambi Chaudhary, ma'am. Ma'am, I just wanted to ask that you told in your session that how we can, being a social entrepreneur owner, we can subscribe the, profit which we are generating, not profit, income which we are generating that. So, ma'am, is it possible to redirect that particular income into the upliftment of some kind of training sessions or some kind of workshop centers? Because if we are subscribing that particular income as an entrepreneur, owner, then somehow we are contradicting the concept of social entrepreneurship, according to me. So, is it possible to treat that particular income generation?
I didn't get your question clearly. Can you just repeat it?
Is it possible to redirect the income which is generated from the social entrepreneurship process or enterprises process in the upliftment of some other training centers or workshop centers or the development centers of the social enterprises or something like that?
Kaushambi ma'am, as per my understanding, your primary motive is to help society. So this question should not arise, I think. Because if
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
if genuinely any social entrepreneurs are doing their work, the primary motive is always to solve social problem and create value for the society and bring about social change. If
Okay.
that is the primary motive, where is this question?
Ma'am, in your session, you told now that income generated will be subscribed by the owners. So that's why I was asking, ma'am.
Subscribed by the owner.
Means the owners will take the beneficiaries. The owners are only the beneficiaries of the income generation, you told. So
No. There is a confusion. Actually, there are different types of social enterprises. Okay. We don't have any legal format of social enterprise. So you can register your organization as non-profit, not for profit, for profit.
Okay.
What I am saying, if you have registered as Section 8 company, Section 8 company, then you can generate profit, but your profit should be reinvested in the organization to achieve your social mission. But if you are using the community-based social enterprise, then your beneficiaries are the owners of the organization. So,
okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So there are different categories. Okay, there is no uniform legal organizational framework for the social enterprise.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nisha, ma'am. Thank you, Archana, ma'am.
Thank you, Nisha, ma'am. With this, I just
Yeah, ma'am, thank you very much for really a wonderful and insightful session. I'm Pranjal. Yeah. So I think Nisha ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
So yeah, now participants, it is going to be a break for some 10 minutes now. So we'll be meeting back on 11:15 for new sessions. Till then, enjoy music.
Thank you, sir.